Alright guys, we're now going to model the three objects that you did the 1.2.4 dimensioning worksheet for. So we're going to start out by starting a new sketch, and I am going to choose this here back plane because of the view for the front view. And let's look briefly at this. So here's what we're going to be dimensioning, this object right here. And I've chosen this view as the front view. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch in my rectangle and then sketch in this hole and extrude that, and then I'll add the hole as a second sketch. So I'm going to really quickly build a rectangle, and we know that it is, based on our dimensionings, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to place a hole which is 1.5 inches in diameter, and now I need to specify the location of that dimension. So to do that, I'm going to be using my dimensioning tool, which is right here under Create. It's Sketch Dimensions, or it's this icon right here on the toolbar, or if you really want to, when you look right here, you see the letter D. That means that it is a keyboard shortcut, so you can always just hit the letter D on your keyboard and it will activate the dimensioning feature. So now, according to my dimension drawing, the center of the hole is 1.5 inches from the right side. So I'm going to click on the right side, and you notice how mine is highlighted blue, and then I'm going to click on the center of the circle, and you'll notice how the circle itself is blue, and the dot in the middle is kind of highlighted with like a halo around it. So I click on that, and then when I drag down and click again, I can put in my dimension. And then the distance from the bottom to the center of my circle, again, I clicked on the bottom line, I clicked in the center of the circle. Now I'm pulling my mouse off, and that distance is 1. So there, I have sketched my object and I fully dimensioned it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and right click and say OK. Actually, I'm going to hit the escape key twice, and I'm going to finish this sketch. Now we can go ahead and extrude it, and what I'm going to do now is I'm only going to choose the profile that I want to extrude. I want that hole there, so I'm just going to choose this one, which you can see is highlighted in that gray color, and our depth is 1 inch. And go ahead and hit OK, and now we are most of the way there. Now I need to, if we look back at my sketch, I need to put this top hole in. So I'm going to do a sketch on this top face of my object. So I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to choose the top of that object. Again, I know it's another hole, and it's 0.5 in diameter. Now, guys, something just happened that I wanted you to notice. If you see the green dotted line there that's running from the left-hand side, I just happened to put my mouse right in the middle of the distance between the bottom and the top of this object, and that green line is showing me like, hey, you're right in the middle there. It's just happenstance. I actually know that that's where I want the center point, so I'm saving myself a little bit of work here. So when I look back at my sketch, and I can see that the distance from the bottom edge of this surface to the center is a 1/2 inch, I've already set that up. Now I need to do the distance from the left-hand side to the center at 3/4 of an inch. That's one I'll have to actually dimension. So again, click your dimension tool, the edge to the center, I'm going to pull down, and I put in 0.75. Now, like I said, because when I built this, I got it right in the middle, I know that the distance from this edge to the center is already a 1/2 inch, and I'll show it to you guys. So, you know, I can add that dimension in, but I really didn't need to because it conveniently was already there. Now let's go ahead and finish this sketch, and we are going to cut away this entire object. And it's 2.5. Oops, it's confused. It's negative 2.5. Okay, and there I have my object made. Now, the first thing I want to do is save it. And this is 1.2.4, the first one. Okay, now I have made my object. Now what I want to do is go do a dimension drawing of my object. So essentially what I want to do is recreate this drawing right here, but we're going to have Fusion help us do it. Okay, so we are going to go over to File, and we're going to do New, and today we want to start a new drawing from a design. So go ahead and click that, and it's going to pop up this little window, and Fusion is assuming that you want to make a drawing based on the design that is currently open, and that is fine. So we're just going to go ahead and actually we're going to change our sheet size to this 811 by 8.5. Not the 8.5 by 11, but the 11 by 8.5, so that it will be in landscape view, and then hit OK. And it's going to open up a new window for us, and this is what we're going to see. So this is a drawing sheet. This is where you'll put all of your drawing information, and it's going to open up with this particular little box down here as the default, and that's okay for right now. And you'll also notice that my base view or my front view is already attached to my mouse. Now this is my front view, so we all know my front view goes in the lower left-hand corner. So I'm just going to place it like where I want, and I'm going to click, and there it's been placed. And now I can go ahead and hit OK. Now I want to get my top and my isometric and my side view. So to do that, we are going to go over and click this button right here, which is projected view. So we are projecting from our base, our top and side and isometric views. So we need to tell it, this is the parent view, this is what I'm going to be projecting off of. And then when you just move your mouse up, look, the top view is automatically formed. And you'll also notice, like I've always been saying, the top view and the bottom view, excuse me, the top and the side view line up side to side perfectly. And look at that, they actually do. So put it, right about there, leave some space around it. Now when I pull over to the right, look at that, there's my isometric view. So I can click to place that. And then when I come down, you'll notice that my side view, and again, my side view is this exact same height as my front view, and we're just going to place that. And when we're done, we can hit the little green check button, and we have our 4 views in place, ready to go. I want to change my isometric view to look like a real isometric. Right now, it's what we call a wireframe. I want it shaded in. So if you just double click on it, this little drawing view dialog box is going to pop up, and you have a couple of different styles to choose from. What we want is the shaded view, and that's going to make it look more like a real 3-dimensional object. You can also change the scale in relationship to the parent here. So if the object is too big or too small because you can't dimension it or it's taking up too much space, you can just come in here and you can choose some different scales. So like that would make it a lot smaller. You want to have it as large as possible that will work with the dimensions that you're trying to put on there. And when you're done, just go ahead and click OK. And you can do the same thing with any of your other objects. The other objects should always stay in this visible with hidden edges view, but you can change your scale. If you decide that the scale is too small, you can change it there. We're currently at 1 to 2, so if I went up to or down to 1 to 4, that would make it really small. You can also type in the actual scale that you want. You see 1 to 1 is a little bit too small. 1 to 1.5, I think that's a good scale, so we're going to go with that. Before we start dimensioning, we're going to put in our center marks and our center lines, and that's going to be right here under geometry, and you can see there's this icon for center mark. So you click on it, and then you just click the edge of the circles, and it'll put your center mark in for you. Your center line, it's the same thing. You just click on the 2 edges of the hole, and Fusion will throw those center marks in for you. Gets really busy over here on this side view. Now we want to go ahead and throw in some dimensions. So again, we're going to use our dimension tool, except this is not changing the size, it's just telling us how big something is. So I'm going to start out with the overall width of the object. So I just clicked on the two width, the left and right sides. And I want to put this dimension in between these two objects, again, because they're sharing it. So that's my overall width. Now we need to specify the location widthwise of each of these holes. So again, I'm just going to click on the outer edge and the center of the hole, and I'm going to put that above my object. And then for this one, I'm going to click on the left side and the center of the hole, and I'm going to put it below the object. I like to keep all of my dimensions in between the objects. So I don't want ones up here or down here or off to the side. It becomes very cluttered and very difficult to read. So keep all of your dimensions what I call in between or inside the sketch itself. So between them. So we have dimensioned the distance to the center of this hole, the distance to the center of this hole. In the width, we've done the overall width. Now let's do the overall height. And again, it's going to go between my front and side views because that's a dimension that is shared. And the other dimension I have to do for height is from the bottom to the center. Excuse me. Oh, I just did something wrong. So I need to go from the bottom to the center of that hole and put that dimension in. And the only other things we have left is the depth. So let's do the overall depth. And I'll put that one right there. And then how big my holes are. So you'll notice as soon as I hover over the hole, it's giving me a diameter on a leader line, and I'm just going to pull that out, trying to avoid the leader lines from crossing anything else. This is one of those cases where you can put the dimension outside on the edge here, and that's all right. All right, guys, so at this point in time, my entire sketch is fully dimensioned. I have the overall height, width, and depth. I have the size of the two holes. I have the location of these two holes, and actually we missed one. I need the location of the center from the bottom to the center of this hole right there. So we're completely dimensioned. I'm going to go ahead and save my sketch, and I'm finished. And you notice as soon as I clicked save, it has the same name as my object, except it labels it as a drawing file. And go ahead and click save, and I'm finished.